here? Anybody have any questions for clarity?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Harold, aren't they allowed one building sign and one freestanding sign?
They are.
Okay, so, I mean, because they talked about taking the sign off the front. Do
Yeah,
they have
the
to?
sign that's,
I mean, I'm just gonna ask
Well-
them, you know.
I'm not sure what other signage they have out there other than that one sign or maybe something
That's it?
that's, yeah.
No, not even on a church or anything, I didn't see.
I mean, they theoretically could have that sign left there if they wanted
Well, the
to.
only reason I say that is if it looked like it's almost, it's gotta be, I mean, drilled into the brick, if anything.
Yeah.
And after all these years, the brick's gotta be a
Right
different
behind
color.
where they take
Yeah,
it down,
right.
yeah.
It's gotta be all different color, and I think it'll look like crapola, you know, but, you know, and I was just gonna give them the option of keeping the sign. Okay, as long as it's legal. and
It
they don't
definitely
need me.
won't exceed the allowable square footage that they would be allowed to have as a building mount sign.
Okay, so they're fine. Okay, and, what else was I gonna ask you? I don't know. I'm on drugs. I don't care, they can, on TV. I guess that's.
Prescription.
Oh, I know.
For your back and neck injury.
For my
is that
back,
correct?
yeah, from my
Joe?
car accident.
Thank you.
Yeah, what happened with these variances? It's just a mistake, or,
That's as
We don't
best
know.
as I can determine, that they came in and represented that they wanted to be 10 feet from the road.
okay.
And,
Now we talk right-of-way road is two different things.
right, and in this case, the right-of-way line is right at that edge of the stairs that you see fronting
I-
Plank Road.
Yeah, I
So,
understand. That's why I said it was just a mistake in a sense.
Yeah,
Because that church has been there a long time. This was 1991 that they wanted the first one.
Yeah, and for some reason, I think the church may date back to the early 1900s.
I agree with you.
Wow.
It looks like, so.
Yeah, that was, I mean, the older people like myself in the organization remember that area as Roseland.
Yeah, yeah.
And the older,
I just wondered if, say,
It
they
was a
widened the
grocery store.
road.
That's
or
how I was
something.
thinking,
right
right
across
the
the
road,
street.
but
Yeah.
the road's not that wide.
and remember that
No.
came before us 7, 8 years ago because he wanted to take it from being a single family and an office to a multifamily. I think it was 4 families we gave approval for, which the board gave him some approvals for it based upon it's more in keeping with the area being single family residences.
Okay, and I remember the last one I was gonna ask you, is on the top sheet that you have back there, you only have 2 variances. You have the stairs and a sign, when really there's 3. There's the stairs, the sign, and the side entrance. Is that, I should ask the lawyer, is that a problem? Pete's not listening.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I am.
Okay. I mean, in my opinion, if somebody's going out to look at the stairs and everything, they wouldn't even probably comprehend that the side entrance, which is another
Yeah.
30 foot back, would be out of, you know.
Right, and unfortunately, I wrote this legal prior to having the full page survey map.
Okay.
The survey
Well,
map
but it's the
is-
same issues. I think
Yeah,
it's properly.
that's what I'm asking. I'm
It's
just bringing
the
it up.
appropriate code section because it is relief from that section,
Okay.
same section.
But
of
we
code.
can hear that.
I'm not aware of any issues by
Okay.
addressing both.
All right, that's all I have.
Anybody else on number 1? Number 2, anybody have any? I have some, but I don't want to
No,
jump
go
in front of
ahead.
everybody.
You go and then if you miss something that I don't.
What I would like to know is, and it wasn't clear, if it was in here, I missed it. U of R is going to be, the plan is for U of R to operate in the building as a separate entity. Is that true?
A separate entity which will have overlapping uses there. The U of R will participate in some physical therapy programs that they utilize the WISE programs for, and the Y, I think, is going to encourage their membership to utilize the U of R's programs whenever they're available to them.
Okay, so as you just described it, does that situation entitle U of R to have some building-mounted sign or signs?
Allowed is the key word.
Yeah, I believe, and there's another section of the code that comes into play here. Originally, when the planning board was going through the approval process, their position was this is not a permitted use.
The physical therapy?
A doctor's office.
Okay,
And the mechanism that the planning board went down in order to allow this use to be there was that the U of R and the YMCA staff told them that they were gonna get licensed as a hospital. And it is a condition of approval in the planning board resolution. So if they don't come through with this licensing as a hospital, and it's not a new license, they have an existing license to operate a hospital, and they have, I wanna say, 7 or 8 facilities around the region that are licensed as quote-unquote hospital, not as a doctor's office, and they're going to modify that existing license, is what I was told. And that was part of the planning board's conditions of approval, that they have to do that before they can allow, or we would allow them to go in there and
I have a
operate.
definition of what a hospital is, or is it strictly licensing?
Well, a hospital is a permitted, or conditionally permitted use in our code.
Right. But do we
And I
define
don't
that?
think we have anything that very clearly defines what a hospital is, outside of just going to state health department regulations.
Well, I guess the main
No.
question I think that he asked that I didn't hear an answer for, are they allowed to sign on their own?
Oh,
Yes or no, kinda like-
I think the use, independent of what the YMCA may be using facilities with them, I think they have a need for signage to identify their
Well,
own
not,
business.
but a need is different than do they have a right? Given the nature, as you understand it, now, we'll elicit the facts
I
tonight.
think as long as they can demonstrate that they're going to get licensed as a hospital, as a separate entity, they would have a right to have signage.
But the hospital issue is relevant for the planning board.
So we made.
You know, let's just set aside what the planning board is gonna require.
Right.
If they are going to be a separate entity, a separate business, regardless if it's a doctor's office or a physical therapy or a hospital, but a separate business from a zoning standpoint,
Yes,
separate business within the same building, they're entitled to a
their
sign.
entire blue sign, yes.
Okay, and what determines the size of the sign that they're entitled to under those
Generally,
circumstances?
it is the linear foot of building frontage that they have.
That they have.
That they have.
And now, do we know that at this point, what that's going to be?
Not with any degree of certainty,
Okay.
unless they have something that they can provide to us now.
That's where that overlap also occurs, where you never know how much is YMCA. I mean, I looked at it when I was
Right,
thinking about this, kind of like what we were doing with the car dealerships. There's separate representations inside.
Yeah, I know.
And we're allowing separate signs for
Yeah.
them. This, to me, in my mind, I was thinking this is a similar situation. I mean, we'll
Right.
hear it, but it's,
And I think that's a great way to explain it, because I think if the U of R were to set up this type of a care unit, they would probably need to have more square foot area than what they are possibly leasing from the Y. But because they're gonna be sharing the use of some of the facilities, there's some overlapping. When the YMCA doesn't have the use of some of the facilities, the U of R will have it, and vice versa.
Okay.
So it's sort of like with parking in a plaza.
But you know what? It makes it very hard for us to make a decision whether they need a variance for a sign if we don't even know how big a sign they're allowed.
And
You
if
see
they
what
don't
I'm
know their
saying? I
square
mean,
feet either.
Well,
is it 50% too much, 200%
They
too much?
are asking for 2 building mounted signs.
Yeah, okay,
So, I mean, from that regard, they are only entitled to 1. And
okay.
But a
Unless
factor
it's a
that might be
separate
relevant in our decision is if they want to,
Have
but
separate
the
entrances.
total of the two doesn't exceed what they'd be allowed if they only had one. That might, if that were a true fact, it might sway us in some manner, but we don't know that. We don't know the square footage that they would be allowed as a separate entity in that building. And maybe they're not gonna be able to tell us tonight. So that's just a question I had about that. I think you've answered it. that
How
they're
do we
entitled.
determine when they need a variance for 2? As opposed, you got like a strip mall where you have adjoining properties, they're separate businesses. They each have their own signs. in
each
front.
business is entitled to 1.
So they
So you-
could have 2 building mounted without a variance.
Yes.
All right, you just
The
said.
U, the
they're
U,
not
but
entitled
the
to
U of
2
R,
buildings.
U of R is looking to have 2 signs for
Themselves.
themselves.
themselves
One on-
across
Right.
the.
One on the north face
entity
of the
gets
building.
one.
250 and one on the back.
On,
That wasn't clear.
Well, on the north side of the
Yeah.
building, and then one in the back,
Yeah.
yeah, the north
Alright.
corner, right.
And now, go ahead, are you?
No, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about these directional signs.
Yeah.
I mean, directional signs are
I
allowed.
thought those are basically.
They
allowed.
are, but
Okay.
there are some limitations.
But they're too big.
They're too big, correct.
Okay, so how many are they allowed, or you would determine that?
Yeah, they're.
You know, everybody wants signs the size of
And,
Chicago.
and every property is
It's
gonna be a little
ridiculous.
bit different, you know, relative how the parking layout is and how you try to develop some of the main traffic lanes.
Distance, so people couldn't.
And how are we supposed to make a determination of that?
At this point is right.
Yeah, at this
Especially
point,
without it
yeah.
being built, yeah.
Well, and that's the other component of it. I'm not entirely sure they can necessarily say that they're going to need that since they haven't necessarily experienced a traffic flow.
Where are they with planning board?
They are approved.
It is approved.
They are approved. At this point in time right now, the YMCA is going ahead with their end of the development of the property. And at a later date, the U of R will come in with a separate building permit application to occupy the space, the interior space.
And they were approved, the site plan was
They-
6 directional
need this
signs,
to
they
go-
dropped it to 4.
Do they need us to go forward?
I don't know
With
the answer to
present-
that question.
yeah, I mean, it seems like it's
You know,
premature.
you were looking at it, and they're actually, they're asking for 7 new signs.
Including the directional
Well, look at the
signs?
red dots, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
including
yeah,
the directional, 2 on the building.
Right.
Actually, it looks like 3 they got colored.
The yellows were the.
The yellows are
Our
existing.
existing changes.
Okay, and then you got 1, 2, 3 over here, 4, 5, and then they got 2 here unless that's considered.
Those are the
one.
building mounted signs, right?
Yeah.
That-
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And
they're
the Y-
asking for
the Y-
7
The Y
signs.
wants to have a building mounted sign on the back of the building, along with U of R wants to have 2 building mounted signs, and then they're looking to change out one of the existing signs on the Y that's at the entrance, their current main
They want
entrance.
to add a logo.
They want to add that logo. If you remember, back when the project was originally approved, there's that portico that you go under to enter the main building. Originally, there was going to be a little band up there that said East Side YMCA branch or whatever it was. George Rommel didn't care for the look of it and then just had them put the sign on the physical
Because you really
building.
can't see it until you walk right up to it, under that, there,
That's correct. You really can't see it until you get
right to it.
right. And quite honestly, unless the sign was the size of a billboard, you probably wouldn't be able to see it from the road
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, well, I
so-
mean, but this too, I mean, they wanna change the monument
front?
sign, am I correct?
Just the
And they
lower
add
part.
that on,
Just
the
the
U
lower
of
part,
R.
yes. They're gonna.
But it's, let me just
Yeah.
finish just a second, see if I'm wrong or right. But it still doesn't exceed because we already counted that in.
That is correct.
So why do they have to get an okay for that?
Well, it is a change, a modification of an approval the board gave them, I'm not sure, it was
Okay,
5 or 6
all right,
years ago.
I
so-
just wanna know if they're, you know,
And they raised the same question, but you know, the comment that I made to them when they were in here some months ago about it was, you're going to the board anyways, because they knew they were gonna be asking for additional building mounted signs. Let's just make sure that we cover all of our bases, so we're not having to continue to drag it back and forth, because as you recall, that freestanding sign came back and forth a couple times.
yeah, sure
Did
did.
it come back because of what was on it, though?
No, the
By the way,
signs.
don't worry about hurting our ego if you make a decision when somebody comes in like that, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a wise
Oh,
guy.
no.
If somebody comes in and you think that their change that they're proposing fits within our resolution,
Yeah, because like.
You're not gonna hear any
Street
complaints.
sign, it's already there. I just changed
I'm
the
willing to
picture on
take that decision on
Yeah.
my shoulders, but
Yeah.
this one was very clearly
An added
it's
sign.
a different business entity.
sure.
Okay.
No, I get it. I'm just talking about in the
And
future.
you know, that was my opinion, that they were gonna have to come into the
So,
board. and-
what do we have that controls the content of directional signs? Is there anything in the code?
You're not supposed to represent or make any advertisement as to the business that is there. It's just, directional signage is just supposed to be, you know, one way, this way, right turn.
Okay, so are these U of R entrance and these U of R entrance then, are they legal directional signs? Or are they, because of the logo, not
I-
legal?
In the past, if they were compliant size-wise,
Uh-huh.
we would allow them to go in, because the entrance
Yeah.
to the
That
the
entity.
use.
ID'd in the sign. I mean, the arrow is no good without
Yeah.
That's
something to
right.
identify
Yeah.
what's
Okay,
over that
what's
way.
over
And this is a
Right.
new one, so this is, okay, and that's what I was asking, you know?
Yeah,
If this
because
was the right
in
size.
essence, I wanted
we
to
would be
make sure that
taking
we
it up.
all knew what they were entitled to as
Yeah.
of right.
Yeah.
And I think we have that. One building mounted sign of a certain unknown size, unfortunately. And same sort of thing with a directional sign that may even identify their business in some manner as well.
Directional's unlimited number, right? If they needed more in theory that were the right size, they could
Yeah,
have.
if they were the right size, it's all up to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and generally, you know, most businesses aren't in the business to just spend money needlessly. They're going to be addressing a need that comes out of interaction with their customers, their clients, whatever the case may be. And, you know, so usually we don't see an overproliferation
Right.
of directional signage. That's,
Yeah, especially because there's not all that much meander in it you're gonna,
But it looks like when
presently.
well,
Putting them, they want, so you can see them from far away, so you don't have to have multiples as you approach
Right.
the lots circling around the outside.
And it is a busy environment there.
Yeah.
Not as much in the wintertime, or going from the fall, but the summertime, because they have the camp kids that come in and go into the back and get dropped off in the back.
Okay, now, why, you know, why does the YWC, or YM, whatever it is, the Y, okay, why does the Y want another sign? I mean, it's not like people don't know where the Y
Well,
is.
ask them that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, ask them
Right?
that. I mean, I get it. I get what you're asking, but ask the applicant. Okay, anything else for clarity on two? I think that was a good discussion.
You can ask them.
All right, how about the minutes from last meeting? Again, thorough job.
Very thorough. Yep.
Yes, very nice.
Can we have a motion to approve?
Before we, this is for August.
This
August
is the one that we
21st.
got,
That's
yeah.
one that we have.
Yeah, August.
August 21st. I'll second it.
Any further comments?
No, nice job, other than nice job.
I have one thing I circled here, I can't remember what the heck it was. It wasn't a change, but, okay, although we have a motion to approve in a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And then we also had the July minutes too.
Yes, that I don't have them with me, but I know you sent them out, Allison, and,
Did you? I didn't, I don't have them either.
Oh, I emailed them.
got them via email.
She
I'm
emailed,
so
Yeah,
sorry.
those ones were emailed to you.
different time than these.
I emailed them
And-
right after the August meeting. because-
Well, so let's, you haven't had a
We
chance to
can hold it,
review
no.
them, you haven't either, let's defer that. Would you mind, Allison, emailing those?
Yes, and do you want me to send you a
Yes,
hard
please.
copy as well?
No, just eat, you know,
Okay.
that's
Well,
fine.
So we'll defer them next month on
Yeah.
that.
Sorry about that.
October meeting?
I already. Did you
The
put it
one
in?
issue I would ask
Last month,
if you
that's what
can
we got.
entertain
Yeah,
a
I already
change of the
did.
meeting date from the 16th of October to, I didn't bring my calendar with me.
Which day of the week, do you know?
Where's my spectacles? So the 14th?
Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, that, generally, if I could move a meeting, it'll be to the Tuesday of the week, because it sort of piggybacks,
Monday's Columbus Day.
yeah, but it piggybacks the meetings with town board meetings on Wednesday night, so
I
it
see.
just makes it
Yeah.
easier for these guys to,
I cannot do the 14th. I have county legislature meeting,
and the Monday of the week is
Columbus
Columbus.
Day.
Columbus Day, so that's a day off too.
It's a day off?
Yeah,
For some people.
Yeah, for some people.
well, for Joe all the
For
time.
me, it's another day.
There's no day on for Joe.
It's a long month, you can go into the next week.
Except
I can
tonight.
do the 20th.
That's true.
That's a Monday.
All right, I didn't check the 20th to see what was available, to see if it was available that night, and I know they have some,
How's everybody on the 20th, Monday? So it'd be
Sounds
pushing it
okay.
back a few days.
Yep.
That's October.
Why are we
So we're okay.
changing it
October
now?
20th.
Hunting season is-
well, the 16th is my anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Why'd you bring her here?
Yeah, what better gift can you
A
have?
night out,
than that?
And she would've thought it was a gift just to not even be there for the night, you know?
Yeah, right.
All right, so you let us know on that, okay?
Bring her
How
in
many- What are we
some-
looking for next month anyway?
There's possibly two.
Possibly two.
Yeah.
Two?
Possibly two?
We have one right now.
We have
yeah,
one
right?
for sure, and
Possibly two more.
the second one is that guy with the deck, is the front porch deck that's too close to the road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
yes.
that's your fault. And the other one is a garage expansion
All right, so
Yeah,
two
the-
fairly
that approaches
straightforward
the
ones.
setback, yeah.
Okay, well, good, so let us know if that Monday works out, if it's good for all five of us.
Yeah, it's good for me, so if it works out, just let us know, right? So far, everybody else, right?
Hmm?
The 20th.
October
That's
20th.
just-
Potentially, yeah.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right,
No.
let's take a few minutes and then start the public hearings. Thanks. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight's meeting is going to take place in two parts. The first part will be our public hearings. We'll ask the applicant to come up to the podium and give us name and address, and then explain to the board members why the relief being requested should be granted. Once the applicant is done with the presentation, board members will have some questions, and then we'll ask anyone in the audience that cares to speak about the application to come up, do the same thing, give us name and address, and then speak about the application. After the public hearings are adjourned, we'll take a brief recess and we'll reconvene in the back of the room to deliberate on the applications and to tend to any unfinished business the board may have. Members of the public, you are welcome, certainly at both stages, the public hearings and the deliberations, although the deliberations are times reserved generally for conversations amongst board members with staff, and sometimes with legal counsel. Only 2 items on the agenda tonight, so I think we'll finish fairly quickly, but of course you don't have to stay. If you want, you can instead call tomorrow, staff, Harold, or Allison, and find out what action, if any, the board took on a particular item. Every meeting, I'd like to point out what the town does, which is several things, to notify neighbors that live near a property that's on our agenda tonight, that the matter is going to be heard. The town does this by sending out postcards, by having the applicant post a sign on the property, post it on the internet, and as I always say, the old-fashioned way, putting it on the bulletin board out at the town hall. And we all feel that it's a good system. We often have neighbors and interested citizens come in and speak up about the applications, and we welcome that. So we'll hope that continues tonight. It looks like it will. So with that being said, I'd ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Harold, may we have the first application, please?
Application number 1, Edgar Borkhuis on behalf of the Bethlehem Lutheran Church, 1767 Plank Road, Webster, New York, 14580. Requests an area variance from Article 3-3-37-I of the code to allow an existing stairs with less setback and a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 from Article 7-7-12-A and Article 7-7-12-D of the code to allow a freestanding sign with less setback on a property at 1767 Plank Road. The property is owned by Bethlehem Lutheran Church and is zoned RA-2. This is SBL number 096.03-1-54.1. This is application number 14Z-0055.
Okay, anybody here on the first application?
My name is Ed Borkhuis, and I'm a member of Bethlehem Lutheran Church, Penfield. This is Ken Francis. We were co-chairman of the property committee. I guess the first thing on the agenda is to permission to keep the existing steps in the church as they are, because they apparently didn't follow the 1991 Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals by not having a 10-foot setback from the property line for the steps. But I don't know, I have some pictures of the steps and the church prior to that, the new steps, and actually 10 foot, there would be no steps if we followed the area variance, because 10 foot is the front of the church.
Right.
So I don't,
Sure, you can hand them
Yeah.
up. We'll take a look
Like
at
to
them.
see 'em.
this is the way they were in 1986. And this is a picture of them presently.
36. They were coming down. Now they loaded from the front. Now they load from the side. That's what-
You can continue if you like while we're looking at these.
So I guess we're just requesting that you let us keep the existing steps as they are.
You can go on with the other aspects of your application.
Okay, the other application is to replace the existing sign that's on the front of the steps with a freestanding sign at the location that, I guess you have the map, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be within the 10 foot.
Yeah, that would give us a 10-foot.
You want to place this up on the board behind you?
Good.
As long as I get it back. Mike, do you have a copy? Yeah, might as well put that up too. We're asking Mike, from the sign company, Clinton Signs, to come up with a diagram of the sign.
Okay.
The problem with the existing sign is we can't change it so that's why we want to replace it with a sign that we can actually put things on the bulletin board that we plan on doing at church.
This is Plank Road, and the sign would be positioned right here. I mean, you probably can't see it from where you are, but it is in the 10-foot setback. It's a freestanding sign, which is lit within certain hours. It wouldn't, it'll be shut off at night when,
Can you come to the other side, because the cameras are trying to pick it up, as you can see, with your
yeah, if you move, that's it. If you
They'll be
move
able to
one
see-
way or the other, the camera can
Yeah,
pick it
they'll
up
be
and
able to
show
see
the
it
audience.
on TV.
I didn't know we were on TV.
Oh, yeah, live and current, you know? It's-
People all across the town are watching you.
Glued right to
And
their
it's
steps.
streamed on our website too, so
it?
all over the world,
National
they're looking at it right now.
So I guess,
This is the church right here. Here's the steps. The church sits back. There's a parking lot here. The sign would go right there.
and right at the present time, it looks like the water authority is about through with the parking lot there. So,
Okay, I guess I have some questions for you, okay?
Okay,
It's interesting that you just said from your property line, and I think that's what happened years ago with both of these variances, okay? There's actually two that you want, one for the front steps and one for the side.
yeah,
Drive-through,
one to
okay.
keep the front steps as they are.
Right.
The other is to replace the existing sign.
Yeah, well, there's also a third. There's one that states you need a 90-foot variance, okay? And from steps in 1991 granted a 90-foot variance. It should have been 100-foot. Because you talked about your property line, we talk about the right-of-way. So back then, it was a mistake. On whose part? I don't know.
Yeah,
But you built it, it's there, and you're here to ask to keep the steps as they are, correct?
right, right.
I mean, it almost looks in the pictures that you gave us that the stairs came out, they're a different direction. They come out the front of the church. Yours
Right.
now come out and go down the side,
Right,
each
right.
side, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
But it looks approximately like they're about the same depth away, so I don't see a real problem with the stairs, okay?
Right,
The second one is the covered drive, okay? And that was granted a variance in 1998, and it was granted a 30-foot variance. And again, when it should have been granted an 88.5 variance, all right? Again, I know, I see that puzzled look on your face, but that's what you need to have, is a larger variance, okay? And since it's been there, and since it's kind of a correction, okay, it's a pre-existing condition that's there, I personally don't see a problem with that one either, okay? We're just readjusting the numbers so that you are now legal instead of,
Right.
okay? Okay. All right, now we'll get to the sign. That's the third one, okay? You want to move that sign, you want a monument sign, that sign that's up there
We
now.
want to replace that sign that's on the front of the steps.
Okay, well, I'll get to that too. Okay, let's go into that. Why do you want to replace that sign?
Because when it was originally installed, we can't change it.
Yeah, well, that's my
I
point.
mean,
You want to remove it.
the pastor who was there in 1991, his name is still on it, and you can't.
Oh, you can't change that
no,
sign in any way?
Nothing on
Okay, so
that
you-
sign can be changed.
Okay, so
So
that's
we're-
why, I was gonna say, if you're trying to remove that sign, it'll really make that brick look terrible. I mean, if in some way you can,
Well, obviously, when we get the new sign, we'll probably hire a mason to brick the whole front
Okay, all right.
area up again.
all right, I didn't know. I thought if it was a sign that could be changed,
No, it
that
can't.
you're allowed one building-mounted sign and one freestanding sign. So you are allowed to keep that sign if in some way you can adapt the sign. You know, say
Right.
the interior of the sign and change it and put the new pastor's name on it and make it where it just says the name of your church. You
But
can't keep it.
But it also is a lighted sign.
Okay,
so-
yeah, that's, okay,
You can't really see the sign either.
okay.
Yeah, because people drive down Plank Road, well, the speed limit's 45, but hardly anybody drives that speed, right?
Yeah, in fact, I drove past it. Yeah, sure.
So
I guess my
actually,
point-
we
yeah.
want a sign that some people can at least notice. Now, I don't think they even notice it.
Yeah. My point was to you is if your sign person over there can work something other than destroying the brick, you know what I mean, and work the sign.
If we have, even if we just save the aluminum cabinet and gut it in some fashion, I guess the concern is if we do take it down, the brick may look terrible.
Right.
Ed and I can take a look at this, we can maybe partially take a look behind there. There's a chance we can do something.
Yeah, Mike, come up and give your name and say what it
Mike Romano
is.
from Clinton Signs, 1407 Empire Boulevard in Webster. I just learned that we will be able to keep the building mounted sign. Again, it wasn't a priority to them to keep that for obvious reasons. It is parallel to the road. It's very hard to read. It's
Yep.
very narrow. The thought being that if it does, it may be worse to take the thing down. I can certainly look at that. We may be able to cover it in some fashion or do something in some fashion. Like he says, it's not, he can't reuse it, meaning he can't do a changeable copy. He can't change things on it. When he refers to changes, he wants to add copy. He wants to add wherever the events are to the church. That's the whole idea of this sign.
Okay.
There may be something we can do, just saving the aluminum casing or do something with it to, just so it doesn't look terrible.
Okay, and again, that's strictly up to you guys, you know?
Is there brick behind the sign?
I don't know.
I guess we'll have to take a look at that, I guess.
Okay, well, I brought up, so I just want to let you know that you're allowed that sign, okay?
That's great, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, now, where the location of the sign is. The sign is going to be, and you need a variance for that. You need a 10-foot variance from a 20-foot setback from the right-of-way, okay? Now, where that sign is going to be located, it's just in front of that tree, and is it parallel with the building, I believe, right? Not the stairs, but the building. Okay, and since the stairs go out 10 foot, if you have to drive out of that driveway like I did, that sign does not impede any sight distance to the right of cars coming. Okay, that's what we worry about, is if a sign impedes sight distance. You have to drive 10 foot farther to see left than you would to see right. So there's no impairment of vision, okay, for driving out on that highway. Am I correct? Right, Mike?
That's right.
The sign
Okay.
is only 20 square feet, it's a very small sign as well.
That's right, and it's within our legal signs in Penfield, so, and that's all I have.
Anything else from the board?
Yeah, are the porch steps enclosed in any way?
No,
Okay.
there is a cover over the front door.
Okay.
Any other questions, board? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Application number 2, Kevin Fitzpatrick, YMCA of Greater Rochester, 1835 Fairport, 9 Mile Point Road, Penfield, New York, 14526. Requests a special permit for signage under Article VII-7-3 from Article VII-7-12, Article VII-7-13-C, and Article VII-7-17 of the Code to modify an existing freestanding sign, provide additional building-mounted signs, and additional traffic control signs larger than allowed at 1835 Fairport, 9 Mile Point Road. The property is owned by the YMCA of Greater Rochester and is zoned RR-1. This is SBL number 125.01-1-34.13. This is application number 14Z-0056.
Okay, I'm sorry, before you start, would someone from the church like to come and pick up their book, okay? A lot of very nice pictures in here. There you go. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Kevin Fitzpatrick, I'm Executive Director of the East Side YMCA, 1835 Fairport, 9 Mile Point Road, also a Penfield resident, 12 Chatworth Circle North in Penfield. So tonight we come to you asking you for 4 different things in our sign plan. We work with Harold. We're not actually sure what is a variant or what conforms to the sign, so we figured we'd just let you know everything that we want to do and get your input from that. Probably just a little bit of background as to why we're looking for the signage and the change. One is that we are adding a 34,000 square foot addition to the YMCA. We're also doing a partnership with UR Medicine, and part of that will be a wellness center. So there'll be a wellness component to our addition, and that's about 6,000 square feet. They will have a shared entrance with us around in the back. So when we looked at the signage, and again, there's 4 different spots of signage, what we tried to do was trying to figure out where was the YMCA, and then the shared entrance between the YMCA and UR Medicine, how we could make sure that that was clear to members and to people that were using the UR Medicine space, how to get in, how to get out. We do know that about 21% of our members actually at Eastside are actually seniors, so we want to make sure that everything was labeled and not very confusing, because you do have to go all the way back to the west. So I'll just take a real quick, show you how it lays out, and then go through the 4 different signages that we're looking for. So if you enter, I got to find it.
There is a handheld mic under there.
No, there's not.
Oops.
Well, maybe I can do it from here, and you can, if there is a site plan in your package, you might be able to follow along with me from there. That will pick it up? Okay.
Or
So you
slide it
enter
over,
from,
slide the podium over if you
From
need.
250. There is one signage here that will ask for some changing on, so that's our current monument sign. As you come down our entry lane, we're asking for some wayfinding signage just to direct people to the Y entrance and then also to the UR Medicine entrance, which is around here in the back. So we have signage that hopefully will direct them to the back. And then we also have, this is our shared entrance. We're asking for signage on this entrance with UR Medicine and the YMCA, so they know that that's a shared entrance from there. And then we're actually asking for a building-mounted sign for UR Medicine to designate where their space is from there. And then also, when we built the YMCA, there was an entry sign that we've changed through the time. Last time we were here, we talked about it being big, and is there a way to clean up that signage at all? So we also have a proposal to clean up that signage at our entrance from there. Any real quick questions on that? So what I'll, so the first, probably the easiest, the first thing is we're asking for our monument mounted sign. So before, if you remember, on the bottom of that, it said Eastside Family YMCA, and it actually gave the address for the YMCA. So this was a sign that was approved, I think, back in June of 2011. What we're proposing now is just to take the bottom of that, take the orange off of that, and actually put UR Medicine. So we would share this signage with UR Medicine. So We're not looking to make it bigger, we're just looking to use the existing signage and actually put some new graphics or UR Medicine on there. So that's the first part of that, so. Do you want to go through all four of them, or do you want to ask questions as we go through each?
Go through all four.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the second thing we're asking for is wayfinding signage. So as we went through our site planning, we actually had 6 wayfinding signs that were identified on the site plan that we did with the planning board. We re-looked at that, we said we could probably get away with 4 wayfinding signs, but they might need to be a little bit bigger. And what we think is unique about the wayfinding sign is we want people to make sure they know where UR Medicine is or where the YMCA is. So there are some signs that are here that are the wayfinding signs that are UR Medicine. So there are 2 of those as you come in the entryway. So if I were to refer back to the site map, it would be these 2 signs here. So what we're trying to do is people, as they turn into the YMCA property, UR Medicine, and also Wickham's, that they understand for UR Medicine, they need to go straight. They come here and they see the straight signage that's going to send them continuing to the back, so they're not confused with our main entrance, which is here. Further back, the 3rd sign is over here, and that sign is actually a shared signage that says UR Medicine and YMCA, because that rear entrance will be used by Y members and UR Medicine. So that sign points them down. To here, we have a crosswalk, an entryway, so it's more of a traffic calming device as our kids are walking back and forth through our camp property from there. That would then also point them to the entrance. So altogether, that's 4 wayfinding signs that we're looking for. 2 of them are UR Medicine, and then 2 of them are shared signs that are UR Medicine and the YMCA. All right, next one as we go through. Then what we're looking to do is as they come, and hopefully those wayfinding signs bring them to the new entrance, which is in the back, which is to the west. And again, from 250, you cannot see the entrance. So we're, again, very concerned about making sure that they know where the entrance is. So at the entrance, we're looking to actually put on both sides of the entrance a UR Medicine logo, and then also a YMCA logo that would be here. So neither one of these are lighted. They would just be, if I was doing it, this is how it would be as they were walking into the entryway from there. So there are 2 of the signs that are outside of that new west entryway that we have. And this sort of, forgot I had that one. This is sort of the better of the picture of what that might look like. Additionally, what we're looking to do is for UR Medicine as a tenant of our space, because they are leasing space, they have about 6,000 square feet of space. When we looked at the code, we knew that from signage, you got 2 square foot per linear foot. Well, we weren't sure what was the front. We're considering for UR Medicine, this part, I don't know which is going to pick it up, but this part is really their space. So if you look at the front of the UR Medicine space, it's about 120 linear feet. So that could be about a 240-foot sign or square foot sign according to the code. What UR Medicine has asked us to do, because no one is going to see the sign on the west side, what we're proposing to do is to put the sign up on the north face of the building, but up high. So as people are coming down 250, they could see it, but also as soon as they come into the parking lot, as they're looking at the wayfinding signs, they start looking towards the building, then they would also see this sign. So again, we're really trying to make sure as they're progressing through the parking lot, they can see where that space is from there. And we're asking that sign to be a lighted sign also. Just like we have the lighted sign on the front of 250. So we do have a YMCA building mounted sign in the front that is lighted also. And lastly this is what is currently on the building. And you might look at that and say, that's kind of a strange looking sign. A few years ago, the YMCA nationally went through a new branding, so we have a new Y and a new logo. So we used to have a Y, it used to say Y Rochester. With the new branding and to being compliant, we actually had to take that off. So we had to take that Y down. So this is what the sign has looked like since then. Probably about 3 or 4 years ago, we went to our new branding standards. So what we were looking to do is we take the opportunity to look at signage. Then we said, can we clean that sign up, make it look a little nicer? So what we're looking to do is put a little smaller footprint. If you look at the entirety of the sign, it's a smaller footprint. So again, it would just have the Y logo. It's an East Side Family Branch. So we would keep the middle wording that is in there and then put YMCA Greater Rochester underneath there. And the reason we're looking to put YMCA Greater Rochester underneath there is on the front signage where that orange piece was that is now part of UR Medicine. That used to say East Side Branch, YMCA Greater Rochester. We just want people to understand that the East Side YMCA, or as people call it, the Penfield YMCA, is part of a bigger organization, and that's the YMCA of Greater Rochester. So that is sort of the 4 different signage plans that we're looking for. So I'm sure you have questions, so I'll try and answer them as best I can.
Sure. With the larger directional signs that you're looking for, and I think that's the dual shared ones, if you weren't allowed the larger shared signs, would you split that up and make multiple signs then to accomplish the same task? Or how would you address that?
What we'd like to keep with the shared sign. We'd like to actually take, if again we can't have a larger one, we would go for a smaller shared sign. We think it's important for people to know that at that back entrance, it's the YMCA and UR Medicine. We don't want to confuse it from there. That's why as we went further back, we put those signs together.
Okay, so you really felt the shared sign was needed as opposed to 2 separate signs that...
Right, so in the front, we tried to put the single signs, and as we got to the back, that's where we went to the shared, because it is a shared entrance.
Okay, and then the large sign was purely for visuals, so you didn't have to have as many, you could see them from farther away?
Correct.
Okay. And, so you already answered my addition question for the percentages. The second Y sign in back, when we look at signs, we typically say it's for identification purposes. They already know they're at the actual Y facility. You're directing them to the back. Would you need a separate Y sign at the door necessarily at the back?
We, excuse me, we looked back and forth with that, but again, with the confusion of UR Medicine, so people knew exactly where that was and what that partnership is, we thought it would be important to have a Y and a UR Medicine sign back there.
Okay. Let's see, what else do I have? And the front sign on the street, that's really, it's identical sizes. That orange band is really just turning blue with the new...
Correct.
Logo.
We're not, no increased size
It's
or
not gonna be
anything.
taller or anything,
Still
okay.
continues to be lighted exactly the same way.
Okay. And pretty much everything else you covered answered my questions. Go ahead, Carol.
On this partnership with the Y, explain how that's going to work.
What it is, it's a shared space, so UR Medicine will have 6,000 square feet of what we call a wellness partner. What they're looking to do is a family medical care practice, physical therapy, OT, school and nursing. And where the partnership comes in is that there's a lot of expertise that UR Medicine has and the YMCA has, so we're looking to, the best example I would have of how that partnership, because people keep asking, what is the partnership? So 2, the School of Nursing does flu clinics, single shots, different things like that. We'd be able to offer those to our members and to the community through this partnership with UR Medicine. The other thing would be is if you're doing physical therapy, so if you've ever had shoulder, knee, or hip surgery or therapy, right now at 250 and 441, they have a rehab facility. What we envision happening is after about the 7th or 8th rehab appointment, those 9th and 10th appointments would actually be at the YMCA through the space that UR Medicine has. But combined, they would come to our wellness center, they would come up to our pool, and we could actually get them into a rehab program. Because as we all know, even though you're done with 10 appointments of physical therapy, you still have to keep your physical therapy up. So again, your chance of reoccurring injury or whatever decrease as you keep getting stronger and progress from an injury. So those are some of the places where we think we'll have a strong partnership with UR Medicine.
The monument sign out front, the one that you're going to add the U of R to the bottom,
Correct.
that is visible in both directions?
Correct.
All right, so when people approach that sign, they're gonna know that the U of R and the Y are both on that
Right, and
property.
we're both at that location, correct.
Okay, so then they're gonna get in, come down the long road, and you're gonna have directional signs helping them along the way to find the entrance.
Right, correct.
Okay. I have to tell you, it's fine. It's a good idea, good business plan, I like it, but I think the signs are overkill. I don't know why the Y needs any more building-mounted signs. And frankly, I'd like you to go over again the need for the U of R to have the building-mounted signs. One, I could see. In fact, I think you're entitled to one.
Correct, right.
But if I'm counting it right, you're asking for 3 building-mounted signs for the U of R?
No, 2.
Okay, well then why don't you go over them again? I'm looking at a couple of
Okay.
pictures here.
Could I add something just to clarify
Sure.
what you're saying? I guess along the same lines of what he was saying is, explain why the UR building mounted sign is needed in that the monument sign says there's 2 occupants. Those signs direct everybody to the back, and then you have 2 signs over the entrance for the U of R. Why, doesn't that serve the same purpose as the wayfinding signs?
And we don't think so, as far as the fact that this sign there, we believe that that we can have that because they're another tenant that's in the building. So again, that's another use of the property. So that would be that building mounted sign that is lighted. The 2 in the back were just as people are walking to that, so they actually knew what that entrance was from there. So as you see, as they're coming across from the back, they're walking up to here, there's 2 doors on each side. So again, as you walk this way, you don't see the doors here, you see the doors that come from the side. We didn't want the doors to open for the west wind that would come by, so the doors are actually at the side. So that's where those actually signs are, to show that's where the doors are, and that's the entryway into the UR Medicine and the YMCA space.
Well, wouldn't a simple entrance sign take the place of 2 logoed signs?
Well, it wouldn't identify the business.
It wouldn't
Well,
have,
I mean, people are coming there either to go to the Y or to the UR medical thing, right?
correct.
And they actually got to go through the same door, are you telling me? The same set of doors? There's 2 doors there?
They both enter the same door, then when they go in, one goes left, one goes straight.
Okay, so then inside you put an arrow U of R and the other one Y. Why do you have to have it outside rather than one entrance sign over the entrance? Because you said there's 2 sets of entrances in the back, one to the right and one straight ahead. And you don't want them going in the other one. So put entrance over the door instead of logoed signs. I guess our point is that it's like overkill and oversized, just like the directional signs. I mean, why can't you stay within the code and put directional signs up? If they're coming looking for the U of R, or if they're coming looking for the Y, that's what they're looking for. So directional signs can just be a direction where you want to go for U of R, correct? But can't they be within code?
So I
And
believe
then you would only deal with Harold. You wouldn't even have to come here.
Right, when we tried to look at, we believe the code was, it was 2 square feet, so it's a very small sign, and we couldn't direct them if we put UR Medicine there. We wanted to make sure that they were going all the way to the back, because it is that west entrance all the way
Okay,
around.
and you probably know the answer quickly. We allow a 2-foot square sign. What size sign are you asking for?
I'd have to, those, the wayfinding are 72 by 36 or 86 by 36.
Okay, that's over 86 by 36 is 48 is almost 4 by 3, right?
Correct.
We allow a 2-square-foot sign, and you're going with a 12-square-foot sign, right? 3 by 4? I mean, to me, it's overkill. I'm just telling you the truth. I know what you're saying. Older people
Yeah.
maybe, but once they find the building, once they find the entrance, okay, they're gonna know where it is. I mean, it's just like, you identify a building for people who don't know where it is, okay? You're driving down the road and you go, gee, where's the Y? Oh, there it is. But once you know where it is, when you come back next week, you join the Y, come back, you're not looking for the sign.
Right.
So it just seems to me like there's an overkill on signs. You know, on the ground, if you're allowed directional signs, I love it. deal with Harold, make them within code, that's why the code, we don't make code. We just enforce code, okay? And we grant variances from code. And to me, right now, you're not giving me a good excuse of why there should be a variance from the code. You're allowed as many directional signs as Harold thinks you should have, and you could deal with him, but you're asking for much larger signs and 2 building mounted signs, and I'm just, keep talking if you want.
Yeah, well-
But right now, you ain't convinced me.
Well, again, when we went and looked at what we had our sign people, Gup sign, actually mock up a 2 square foot sign, which is a very small sign. So as you're coming in through that area, you have to make sure that you know where the YMCA entrance is. You have to know where Wickham's is, because Wickham turns off from there. Then we're also bringing you back to the camp. And if you've been on our road, the road actually, we want to make sure that they turn before they get to our camp area. Because during the summertime, we actually have about 260 kids that are back there in camp. So we actually have a turnaround, which is back there. So we're very concerned that if people, especially the first time that they're here, if they go back into that camp area, there could be an issue. So we want to make sure it was very clear, especially for someone who came the first time, that they knew where to go, and especially during the summer and those other times when we have kids back there, that they're not going to go back into that camp area. That was actually one of the reasons why we have, if you look at our site plan, that crosswalk is actually put all the way across, and we consider that a speed control device or a traffic calming area. We want to make sure as people are coming back into that area, they realize, one, where they're going, but that they also need to go slow because we do have kids back there. So we're very concerned for the safety of our kids and want to make sure as they enter, they know where to go.
Okay.
How easy would it be if you came through the main entrance existing right now to get to the medical center?
Excuse me?
In terms of if you walked into the medical, or if you walked into the main entrance where it is right now, the existing one, and you walked in looking for the medical center, is that an easy task to get to it? Or is
So I guess what I could say is not very easy, again, depending on where you are, because what would happen is you would come in the main entrance here, you would walk all the way down through our main hallway, you would take a left, and then walk all the way to the front of this area to go in. So again, I don't know how long that is, but it's quite a walk, especially if somebody has an illness, especially if they're doing rehab. You get somebody who is in a wheelchair or in crutches. And again, that was some of UR Medicine's concern, is to make sure people knew exactly where they were in the beginning.
You could have large directional signs internally to lead people that way.
Well, again, we don't, the whole idea of this is we do not want people from UR Medicine coming through our main entrance. We want them coming through here, because the way this is set up for our security is that as they come through, they turn immediately left into the UR Medicine. So they don't come into the YMCA. So they're not going through our scanning process, so they don't have to scan in. Again, when we talk about safety of our members and safety of our children, we want to make sure we know who's in the building all the time. So if we had a lot of people from UR Medicine coming through there, our protocol would be is we need to see a driver's license for them to come through.
So if I enter the Y via the west entrance,
Correct.
what am I gonna, what portion of the Y am I gonna be walking into? What's gonna be there? Let me ask it that way.
When you walk right in, so you walk into the foyer area.
Yeah.
In the foyer area, you immediately turn left, which will be a handicap accessible door to go into the UR Medicine space.
Okay.
And probably the best way I could do it is then you would walk about another 3 feet, and there'd be 2 sliding doors where you would enter then into the YMCA space, which is where our control desk is.
Okay, so why do you need that entrance for the Y?
Just because, the reason we need the entrance for the Y is because we had 148 parking spots. So when you look at where our parking is, our furthest parking is over here. And believe it or not, even though people are coming to the YMCA to work out and get healthy, for them to walk from the furthest area here all the way over to this, to that entrance is a little bit of an issue. So again, for convenience for our members, when we added the parking back there, we needed to have that extra space, that extra entrance.
Okay, so as somebody here alluded to, once the members that are unfortunate enough to have to park that far away figure out or realize there's a, let's call it a back entrance to the Y.
A second
They'll-
entrance, yep.
Okay, it seems to me they'll be using that as soon as they know it's there, if they're parking far away.
Correct.
Again, I don't see the need for the Y signs, and the U of R, sure. And I understand why the directional signs will be helpful, and you've sort of persuaded me about the size of the directional signs too, because you want both businesses there. If you're going to have people really want them to use that back entrance. I guess I don't, that's the part I'm not seeing,
Well,
other than the inconvenience of having to walk all the way around.
well, let me, it probably would have been, if I would have given you the whole floor plan, I'll sort of give you a little bit. And as you go into that second entrance, which is here, you
Yeah.
have an option to continue down the hallway, which then you will go to our main YMCA. If you were to go to the right, you would be at our Sports Performance Center. A little further down would be our family gym. As you continue to walk to the left would be what's considered a MARC Center, a multi-agent resource center, which we have with Lifespan, which is again another reason why I want to make sure our seniors know where they can enter. Right before you get there, though, there is a set of stairs that will bring you upstairs to the second floor, which is our wellness center. So we figure that those stairs are going to get a lot of use because people then are going to be able to go upstairs and use our new spin stadium, our core exercise area, and our cardio studio. So if you know the YMCA, we have one stairway towards our wellness center. This will be a second stairway. So that's why people would actually use that. It's actually a much quicker way to get to our upstairs than going through our main entrance, walking all the way back, and then getting up to the stairs. So as we put it together, we're looking for member convenience, especially as we added those 148 parking spots.
Okay. Those dual shared signs, can you point out again where they are on the map?
It would be this one here pointing to Turnham, and then this one here, which would be in the crosswalk that points them to here. So it'd be these two are shared, these two are just UR Medicine. So as people come in, they're not confused. We're not sharing this sign because we don't want to see the YMCA yet. We want UR Medicine on these two, and then these two are the shared signs.
Okay.
So technically, you're going to install 7 new signs.
1, 2,
You're gonna put one underneath the front and the monument.
6. Correct, 7 new signs, yes.
Okay, so 7 new signs is what you need, and all of them are bigger than what are allowed, most of them. Well, the
Well,
front
we-
one isn't, the directional signs are, and then you're talking about 2 building mounted signs.
Right,
You're
we,
allowed one, and now you're asking
Well,
for
I guess
2.
what we looked at when we split up those small building signs is according to our calculations and talking to Harold, with 2 tenants there, we could have a maximum of 400 square feet of building signage. So we did not want to make big or large obtrusive signage either on the front or on the side, changing that. So what we did is when we did the UR Medicine sign, we made that what we thought was small and reasonable, and by making that small and reasonable, then we had these 2 smaller signs there. So if you look at our linear square foot, and again, I'm just going by what Harold and what I thought I read in the code, is that we have 2 square feet per linear feet of frontage. We have 2 frontages there, so we have over 200 linear feet of frontage if you were to take the YMCA and UR Medicine. So technically, according to code, we could have 400 square feet of signage. Again, we thought if we did each sign 200 square feet, that would just look ridiculous according to code. So that's why we tried to make them a little bit smaller and to fit in with the building and how it worked.
See, do me a favor, see this one with the Y?
Yes.
That sign?
Yep.
And then actually, how about this one? So that shows the Y and the UR. If you kind of hold them up next to each other, you don't have big ones, but if you hold them up next to each other, you can see the large entrance in the back, and you can see the large Y on the right-hand side,
Right. So if I
and the
were-
large
two
U
of
of
these.
R on the left-hand side. I mean, if you put them together,
Yep.
you get a good picture of the back of the building, am I correct?
Correct.
And
So those are 22 square feet and then 16 square feet. And then the UR Medicine sign that we're looking to put on the side is 52. So the total 52 square feet is this sign here. So if you look at that, I believe that's, if I do my quick count, 55, 6, 7, 8. So about 90 square feet of signage, which we're looking. So again, when we looked at what we had on our front, which is 82 square feet, we could have said 82 minus 400 gives us, 312 square feet to play with. But again, that was way too big. We did not want to be overly intrusive for the neighborhood. So again, that's why the UR Medicine sign was 52, which again is smaller than the one which is out front. And then we put those two smaller signs on the side.
So you're saying the quantity of signs, because they're less than the big sign, you think that's a reason for us to okay 'em?
Well,
I'm just asking. I'm not making a,
we thought it was a much better option, given what the YMCA building looks like, given the community and the area, than putting two big signs, which we could have by code. Again, we had a hard time reading the code, and again, with Harold's help, trying to figure out what we needed variance for back and forth and what we were allowed. So we said, wow, 400 square feet. That's a lot of signage. We don't even need to come close to anything like that. So that's why we thought this was reasonable.
I think you told me you only have 120 square foot of outside lineage, right, on the building?
No, that's the UR Medicine space. If you take the YMCA square footage, if you take the whole YMCA square footage, I think if you look in your application, we went through and put that, it's over 226 square foot of the frontage, because we talked to Harold and consulted with the town as to what they thought would be our frontage for our building based on where our parking was. So what they told us is this is our frontage.
Including the Y as your frontage? I mean, I
Yeah, so
understand
the
where
Y
I'm coming from.
Right, but again.
You're adding the Y in yours and going, gee, it's all mine.
No, well.
What happened to the Y?
Okay, if you look at the site plan, this is actually a two-story building. So we actually have space up here also. So this is, if you look all the way down through here, this is that's all of our space. Of the, over 100,000 square feet, only 6,000 square feet is UR Medicine. So when we looked at the town to say, what is our actual frontage? And do we go from 250? Do we go from the parking lot? Because if you read the code, it was a little ambiguous as to how you figured the frontage. That's what they told us to use.
Okay, you're talking for the Y now, not the U of R.
For the whole building, because what we were told is you have to take the totality of the building, because we're using it as lease space. What's the totality of the building? And then what are you allowed for the totality of the building in the code?
Okay. And Harold, you told them they could have a 400 square foot sign?
They have a lot of frontage on that quote-unquote main entrance side of the building.
Okay, all right, that's what I have to know. I have to know what you're allowed and what you're asking for.
So, and again, this is, and again, when we came, we just, we tried to have a conversation with Harold, said,
Yeah.
what is allowed? And then once we figured that out, because there's a little misunderstanding about the front signage or back and forth, we said, let's just sit down, figure out what it is, and then try and put our package together from
Okay,
there.
yeah, no, I'm understanding now where you're coming from, okay? Because sometimes when you have a building this size, it's like, if it's separated in the middle, half should be yours and half should be the other person. If you're adding the thing together,
I wish it was that easy.
I know, okay. All right, that's my question.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, what is the square footage of all the U of R? With
6,000
everything, the
square
directional-
feet.
No, I mean the signs.
Oh, of the, so if you're looking at just UR signage is 74 square feet of new plus the wayfinding signs.
Okay, so, and then how many are they?
Out.
If you're adding them, I know there's 4 signs.
There's 4 wayfinding signs. They're 2 different, I didn't do the square footage real quick. I can get that for you, though. I think they're actually on the plan.
2 of those.
Yeah. I think one sign is 13 and a half square feet, and the other one's just a little smaller, is 8. So 8 and 14.
Okay.
8 and 13 and a half.
Okay. That's 21.
Potentially, right.
Okay.
So Mike just reminded me, as we do that second floor, we do have, UR Medicine does have an option for the second floor, but again, so it would be over 10,000 if they did all of the build-out, but right now it's 6,000 square feet.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? No, okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the time. A little confusing to put it all together, so I
That's right.
appreciate
Well,
the
that's why
questions
we
and
have
your time.
questions.
Nope. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, that will conclude the public hearings. We'll take a brief recess and reconvene in the back of the room. Thank you all very much.
Yeah. Okay, hang on one second. Where's it? There it is. Okay. I believe this is an unlisted action. Okay, so I make a motion, it's an unlisted action.
I second.
With no significant
Exactly.
environmental impacts. Okay, we have a motion to find an unlisted action and no further review necessary, and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, maybe I'll take the first two, or take them all at once, it's up to you. On the
How
steps.
about all at once?
Okay, on the steps, we're gonna grant them the 100-foot variance. On the side covered drive, we'll grant them the 88.5-foot variance that they need. That cleans up those two. And on the sign, I wanna grant them a 10-foot variance from the 20-foot setback.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 2 with the seeker?
Yeah, it's unlisted action, I'll make a motion to grant negative declaration for under seeker, no significant impact.
Second. Yep, go ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 2 neg decks tonight.
How much do we want to split this up, Harold, in terms of,
You know what I'd suggest you do? Pretend you're driving a car in there.
okay.
And go
So, the-
Yeah.
as you pass.
Directional.
So
That'll help
I will
us
make
too.
a motion to allow the existing freestanding sign modification
In front of the building.
as in front of the
Yep.
building, yep.
Yep.
Sorry. good.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, so the monument sign?
Yeah, that sign's almost, it's identical, it's gonna be lit the same way, there's no impact visually, it's gonna change, if anything's gonna be darker.
All right, any further discussion on that one?
I just wanted to make a, am I correct that that sign, we gave them a variance for a larger sign there? So although it's already approved and there's no change, it's larger than they would be allowed.
That's
Were
correct.
it not for the variance.
Yeah, and that was the reason why I felt that it should come back to the board, because it had been granted as a larger freestanding sign, in concert with the fact that, if you recall, Wickham was allowed to have a freestanding sign on the YMCA property, so there were 2 different components to that freestanding sign.
Well, that's true.
That
Right.
existed with it,
Okay,
so.
just wanted to point that out.
That's a valid point.
Okay.
It isn't just a simple substitution of something that was there and approved and allowed.
Right, and
Yeah,
that's the way
it should
it
be a little bit
sounded
beyond.
tonight, but
Yep.
Right,
Right.
okay. So we have a motion to approve that and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I will make a motion to allow, or to grant the larger traffic control directional signs as presented. I guess that's the shared signs. Those are the shared signs the only ones that needed the approval, or also the ones that
well,
just had
that's a good
single?
question. I'm trying to
All
pull
of them.
these
I
up.
think all of them did, correct?
Harold, let me ask you this. When you are determining the appropriate size for a directional sign, and also what should go on it, what factors do you consider?
In regards to the numbers of them that they need, or?
Size.
The size.
Size and what should go on them?
Well, from the standpoint of what should be allowed on it, it just should say entrance, exit, right turn, left turn. I mean, that's what a traffic control sign is.
Okay.
It's purely to give you that direction on the property. I don't wanna make an argument for the applicant's signage here, but they do have some uniqueness in the fact that they have 2 uses on the property that need to have some direction control to the people who come to the property for those services that are provided by those 2 businesses.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I saw it as
Can I-
well.
Okay, but if they just took and put U of R, UR, and entrance, couldn't they get it down to 2 foot?
can I make a
If
comment?
they
here, too?
get that small, yeah, we would probably allow them
Right,
put
so
up
they
that
don't even need a
traffic-
variance.
If, I'm not here to make an argument, you know. on
Well, I
behalf
mean,
of-
would you, okay, if they came in
Yes, yes.
and said, these signs had just UR, or U of R, okay, an entrance with an arrow, we
Yes.
wouldn't be here.
If we're looking at another type of a plaza where there were multiple users in the plaza, and you needed to have some control of direction provided to individuals who are coming there, we would give them the ability to put some small representation so that people could know where to go. And you say that in some of the other plazas, it'll give you the name, it'll give you an arrow that says straight,
I
and
got
give you
you.
another name of business, an arrow says right, or whatever.
But they
So-
all try, usually keep them within the 2 foot,
Well, they,
or they'd be in front of us.
Well, on
That's
ones where
right.
they put the logo, have they had to be larger, or a name or something like that typically, or not?
We wouldn't allow the logos, we would just
I'm
allow
saying
a
name, yeah.
Right.
Have
would
they
do
had
it
to be
so-
larger in any other circumstances that you can?
I don't recall an
See,
application
now
since
be
I've been.
careful, because when you're making that motion, because here's 2 small ones.
Right.
Are you talking about those, or are you talking about this one too?
Well, the dual one, I like
It's
the idea,
directional.
in fact, right, it's directional, and I actually preferred having that as opposed to, I mean, in theory, they could have lots of small signs running down the whole entire driveway, and I think that would be even worse. That's why I asked in terms of number of signs. That's kind of one of the things that I was looking at, is they could litter the whole side, because every time you pull out of an aisle, you need to know which way you're going. In theory, if someone turned in wrong, you could say you could turn this way, you could turn this way, you could turn this way. They could if they really,
Maybe the first time you're there, but how
Right.
about the second time?
well, a lot of these, I look at some of the people that sometimes get up in age, and sometimes they might
beg
need a
your
little
pardon,
assistance.
no.
I didn't necessarily say you.
I don't know,
Okay.
I'm questioning whether we should do this piecemeal, because in my mind, there's an interrelationship between the size of the directional signs and the need for the other building mounted signs, particularly the U of R sign. I mean, you're leading these people from the monument sign to a series of directions, a left-hand turn and then another left-hand turn, showing them where the entrance is. Why do you need, I mean, to say that because we can have it, well, yeah, you can have it. But if you want to follow that, then they shouldn't have the other 4 signs and a larger monument sign. I mean, if you strictly want to go by what they can have and what they can't have, it seems like they're having their cake and eating
Yeah,
it.
well, I was basically gonna do directional signs and then building signs next. I was just gonna.
But I get what you're saying, that your feelings on one may affect your decision on the other.
Yeah, and if you already make a decision on one, then,
Well,
I guess I
well,
can do
yeah,
either
why
way.
don't you, let's hold off on the vote on that, and maybe I should have
guess
even with the
that's-
monument sign, although I thought that was a fairly
Yeah.
easy one. We'll go through your arguments for all of them, and then you can certainly comment about what your feelings are.
Okay. Now, I saw some of the building signs. I saw like the front YMCA sign, the one on the north existing. Changing that, I didn't really have a problem with this because you can hardly see it. It's not a visual sign. I don't have a problem with them changing what was there to a different sign because they're basically swapping what's there. That one I don't have a problem with so much because they're taking away one, adding another. Yes, this one, thank you.
This is the existing, this is what they're proposing.
Right. And that I don't so much, that I would make a motion to approve that. Actually, I just did. I mean, I don't know if you want to do it that way, if you want me to break it
Well,
up
as
like
long
that.
as everybody's okay with handling that one separately.
I'd
I'll
say,
vote
that's-
that way.
yeah,
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the existing building,
The north, yeah.
okay,
sorry.
sign,
Yeah.
the change involved with that. And we have a second. Any further discussion?
Who seconded?
I do.
Carol,
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Now, I had a little bit of issue more with the U of R in terms of the number of signs. I'm not a fan of having the multiple signs, so I would make a motion not to grant the multiple U of R signs and back. I think the directional signs do a adequate job to get people to where they need to go, and not necessarily need to see it from the 250 side, from the north, that big sign on there from the 250, because if you have one at the street already on 250, do you need one on the building when you're gonna pull in and then have signs directing you back there already? To do it that way. If you take the linear footage, the size things, that doesn't, either way, because it ends up, right now it's 18% of this addition, if you take the square footage, so they're actually using a lot of the building. But for the U of R signs, I don't like the idea of having two, possibly if they had the one and then called it good and everything else was directional, we really can't say no to that. But for the two, because they are asking for two,
So which one don't you like, the one on the side or the one by the doors?
I'd personally rather have the one on the, what they call the north face of the building, showing,
The high one.
yeah, because the directional sign takes you around the back, right up the walkway. From what I understand, there's the ones across that traffic control device or the slowing feature, there's the signs that lead you back up to the building right there.
So would you not have either sign on the back entrance, or just the Y sign on the back entrance? And
Well, I think if you're gonna have the Y sign, you have to have the U of R sign. That's it. It's, if you
So,
have one,
see,
you
that's what
allow
you
the
say.
other.
You like this one, now you're saying, well, if you have
Well, I
one,
don't
you
mind the
like
one on
the
the
other.
north face, because that's showing that corner of the building, that's what that's for. And you're seeing, when you approach the property, for the majority of the time you're looking at the property, you see it, you know it's in back, you know that's where to go.
But isn't that what the directional sign does? It's tell you that that's the way to go?
Potentially, you could say the same thing with a big Y on the side of the building that's been allowed already. There's there's one on the west side, there's one on the north side, there's multiple signs. I guess that same argument could have been used then as
But
well.
there's no directional signs currently.
See,
Yeah, you're right.
back then what we did,
There were
we
no
allowed
directional
two signs on a building instead of directional signs and the one sign in the front. Okay, so we gave them an extra one.
Yep.
Now they're asking for two signs on the building and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 directional signs. See how it starts to
it's more,
multiply?
yeah,
See what I
yeah.
mean? So, I mean, and
was prejudiced
all
on
I'm
that
doing is
before,
telling
yeah.
you what our
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
was and why we allowed this and this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there was a big fight over this, believe me.
Okay.
So,
And that was without knowing about an addition coming on either, right?
that's exactly right.
Yeah, so that's, the way I view it is, I would allow one, but I don't know in terms of what we're doing here, if you say no to all of it, or you have to say yes to part of it, or
Well,
what's
see,
the...
and
They're always entitled to what the code allows.
Right, so in
Right.
theory, they're always allowed the one if we deny the two.
That's right, and here's my point, is that, I know they love these, and they said, well, they had 8 and they had 2 and whatever, but, when you start getting such multiple signs, it becomes a clutter to me. I mean, and it's, again, I don't make the rules, we just kind of give variances for the rule. I just think there's too many directional signs. I mean, and if you have them, if Harold would allow them, okay? If he goes out there and says, geez, they need 2 or 3 here and whatever, if they were within code, then again, my point is, they wouldn't be here. Right, Harold?
You object to the number or the size, or both?
I object to the size and let Harold decide the number that he feels that should be, that would actually do the job that they want done. If they want more, they can come back again.
If they want larger ones?
Come back again, because I don't like them now.
So what you're saying is the number, you object to the number and the size, basically?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know how many Harold would say if they were in the right size.
Size.
What about this, instead of so many directionals, if it said entrance back, then people know they gotta go to the back, instead of having all these signs showing them the back.
I don't care what it says, as
But I
long
mean,
as it's
that way
2
they
foot.
would know you gotta go to the back.
As long as it's within
What
code.
about the 3 building mounted signs?
I
Well-
understand what you're saying,
No, I'm asking what-
I don't know.
Back leads to the park and the...
I think the 2 of them.
Yeah,
so
I
if they
think
want
some
those,
people
then
can
there's
get
that in force.
confused on what is the back of a building like this.
The faces on the side, yeah.
So I mean, you make a decision whatever you want, but I think just putting some wording on a sign, a directional sign that says back, I'm not sure
No, I don't,
will
just back, I
accomplish.
say entrance back.
I understand, without an arrow, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, even with an arrow, entrance back, and then we wouldn't need to have so many.
I mean, if they put the logo and an arrow, couldn't they get that in a 2-foot sign? Do you understand what I mean? It's like, I don't make the rules, Harold.
No,
Are you talking about
The directional
the
signs.
dual one?
Well, no, I don't even like that one whatsoever. I mean, it's,
Well, let's say if it were 2 feet.
okay, if it's 2 foot, you can put whatever you want on it.
This is what you're talking about, 2 feet.
Yes.
Just say U of R.
Yes.
Medicine.
If
Maybe
direct-
get rid of,
Yeah, just put the logo on it.
Yeah.
Logo,
Or just U of
arrow.
R, UR.
Or UR, arrow. However they can get it to 2
You
foot
can't do
within
it.
the code.
It's branded, it's their brand. I know we're not supposed to speak, but U of R.
No, you can't, go ahead.
Well, U of R can't do that. That's their brand. They can't break it up. It's like a license.
Oh, they
can break it
can,
down.
they just choose not to.
Or they can't have it, I mean, you know,
It's not a brand
it's one of
new
them.
sign.
So we try to be
That's
very
the
tasteful
point.
with this. If you look at the signs there, and if you look at what's around the county in terms of hospital entrances, you look at the way.
Why don't you give us your name and?
Oh, I'm
I mean,
sorry, I'm Mike Russ, I'm the Chief Operating Officer. So we spend a long time with the planning board talking a lot about this stuff too. So we try to be very sensitive to the size and the scope and just to do what we think is necessary to get people where we think they need to go and understand that it's the U of R medicine. You gotta remember that a lot of folks are coming through to the back of this physician's offices will be coming through for the first time. It's not like over time, people, as you mentioned, white folks will eventually kind of get the thing, although there's some churn. There'll be tons of new people coming in, many elderly, many with disabilities and needing to kind of ambulatory care going around back. So we just felt that this was the best way to get them back there. If you look at the tasteful logo U of R's come up with, it's a lot smaller than many of their new buildings in Brockport or in Pittsburgh or wherever they have them. It's just a tasteful logo at the top, just recognizing it's the U of R medicine. So we're trying not to be unreasonable. We're not trying to poke a bear here, guys. We just think this is something that we feel is, we didn't want 6 million, to your point, 6 million 2 feet signs all over the parking lot, which we could do. We wouldn't have to come to you guys. Or we could put, quite honestly, on a lot of our glass frontage, we could just go nuts and put YMCA all around the darn building and U of R medicine. We don't want to do that. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, to kind of have a nice, tasteful representation of what we're
But
trying to do.
why can't you put the building mounted signs that you want in the back, why can't you put those on the doors?
We could.
Well, then you should, to be honest with you, and eliminate the request for those two, because I know you've been tasteful, and these are nice,
Sure.
but it's a lot. And this is probably the 4th or 5th time we've seen you guys
Yeah.
since you've built this building.
Yeah. So if,
And we'll probably see a few more times too, as you continue to build.
So if that's something that you feel strongly about, we would respectfully disagree. We think they're fairly minimal. They just kind of say, why, U of R at the back. But if that's something that's really bugging you guys, I could see the fact that we could certainly do a tasteful glass sign that would take away from that. If we could get we really feel strongly that the directional signs really are important for the type of population folks are serving and what we need to have come through there.
And why did you decide on this size
Which
as compared to, for the directional signs? Why did you decide, and I should have asked you this when we were out there.
So these are typical signs that if you look at most of the if you go to Golisano Hospital, if you go to any of the UR medicine signs in Brockport, those are the typical signage that they use, and we're trying
For directional signs?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, and this one here, since we're still asking questions,
Sure.
okay? And again, I'm talking to the gentleman from the Y. I know you're gonna have a desk there, okay? But your Y members will eventually know about that back door, am I correct? I mean, if you wanna put a Y in a window, I ain't got a problem with that.
Well,
Okay?
they can do that.
Yeah, because that's legal inside. But again, another sign on the back of the building for Y, or this sign directing the Y there, to me is overkill.
Well, we just
Okay.
indicated we're prepared, if that's a concern, and because obviously you guys do this, so we're not gonna fight you on that. We wanna get this done. But we think-
Yeah, see, that's why I cautioned him about
We think
okaying all the
that- We think the
directions.
directional signs are really important for all the stated reasons. On the back two signs, we could give on that if you felt that was important to, to your process. We could give those up and go with maybe window decals that might serve that purpose as well.
What about the building mounted UR sign on the north face?
Well,
they're allowed one.
that's
They're
by
allowed
code.
one, so
We're
they can
allowed-
have it.
They're allowed the one, that's fine.
That'd be this
Well,
one.
yeah, they are, but they're not allowed the larger signs, and again, I see that as interrelating.
Well, I know,
Frankly,
I'm
I
just
don't
telling you
have,
my.
I don't have a problem with the bigger directional signs.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
But I do have a problem with the sign on the north face. I don't think you need it.
Just giving up two signs.
You're directing them specifically to where the UR
Yeah,
entrance
but you
is.
have to, I mean, to me, if they're allowed one building sign, I mean, if you took that out of the equation, if we denied the second building sign, then that's kind of irrelevant. Now we're just looking at,
Well, let's look at it this way. Let's say,
that's why you gotta look at it as a
We do it
package.
all the time.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're allowed a
absolutely, but let's say,
freestanding
let's
sign,
say
a
we,
monument sign in a building.
let's say we deny the signs in the back, because they put them on the doors. They've addressed that. Let's say we grant the directional access, because we think it's a good thing to do, but we deny the other building sign.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have one building sign that they could put U of R, right? Because they've removed the one
Not
from
if
the
you
back.
make it a condition of
The,
granting the larger.
the larger variance, okay. That's right, that's true.
And we've done that.
In other words,
routinely.
surrender their right for a building mountain
Yeah,
sign
we
to have
people
larger
give up,
directional signs.
Monument signs for 2 building mounted signs.
Well, Harold, let me ask you this. Is this, because Mike raises a good point, and we have done that in the past. Is these directional signs, is that an appropriate, in your opinion, is that an appropriate size?
No, they're larger than what would be permitted.
But I'm asking you if that size is, given the layout here, is that something that, in your opinion, is,
Excessive.
yeah, excessive? And you're the guy that
No,
gets to decide if somebody else had a million directional signs.
But if a different use was asking the same question, the signs that they would be provided and they could give would just say entrance and in small letters the same size as entrance,
Mhm.
the U of R medicine.
Right.
You know, that's what we historically see in campus-type environments where we have multiple buildings or multiple users on a campus environment. It's a small, you know, so almost the same size as the nameplates that Andres doesn't have yet. That they can change out fairly easily with just the business name, because as you know, businesses move around to some degree sometimes. They come and go. So a lot of the landlords of the world don't like to have these big, large signs to have to constantly go through a makeover on. They just like to be able to slide in a little plate and slide another plate back in. So they
Do you have any windows high enough facing north that you can put a U of R emblem in?
So Harold, what's your concern that the signs are too big, Harold? Is that what you're saying now, directional signs
Yeah,
are too
the
big?
code doesn't allow them to be larger than 2 square feet.
Well, we understand, that's why we're here, and that's why we
Right.
spend a lot of time with you sharing this information. So what's the, clearly, I think we need some kind of dual directional sign that says URY, right? So what are you suggesting we do? Can we shrink it down a little bit? I mean, I don't know, we have a lot of leeway to do much here.
Well, I think these 2 signs, the ones that are gonna be up at the head of the
Yeah.
entrance,
Mhm.
I think can be shrunk, would have to be shrunk down a little bit because there's just not a lot there.
Okay.
The other sign, that's the co-location where the 2 uses are, I think that can be shrunk a great deal. I mean, a lot of the space of the signage is the larger logo that the Y carries, compounded with the somewhat larger logo that UR Medicine has.
So what would you suggest? 20%?
I mean, could they just be text?
Yeah, they-
YMCA,
Yeah,
U of R medicine?
that's what other campuses would typically do, is just have YMCA or UR Medicine, and leave it at that. Obviously,
That's
they may
what
have.
makes them directional as
That's what makes
opposed
it
to
strictly
branding.
directional, and there's,
That's right, it's just identifying where these businesses are, because obviously, a sign that may be anywhere between 3 and 2 or 3 inches isn't providing any advertising.
especially since you turned in and you already know where you are, you just
That's
know
right. I
where to
mean,
go.
At that small size, it's not, advertising of who they are. It's just giving you some thorough identification as to where the pathway is to get to them. Because you got, and this is not necessarily a big campus. Some of the properties that we have that have multiple office buildings are large campuses. We don't need people traveling around trying to find their way. Because anytime you come in contact with another person, it's another point of conflict, which is a risk to everybody. So the quicker we can get person A to location B, the better off we are relative to their safety on the properties.
Okay. In re-looking at this, I'm just gonna give you my opinion, okay? I mean, if they're gonna put the 2 window signs in the back, all right, in the window, and put this sign on this side of the building and get rid of the two Y signs here. Because again, you technically don't want to have people going back there all the time, right? You want them to go, talking to the Y. You want them to go in your other way,
Dual directional.
right? You want them to go in the original way. They will eventually, with the Y in the door, find out about the Y in the back. You don't need another big sign saying Y in the back, okay? Because you have steady customers. I think what the U of R is saying, you have turnovers, or you have new people a lot more, okay? You have steady customers that will eventually go, hey, there's an entrance in the back. I don't have to walk 11 miles. You want to show where the older people that are coming in have to go. Am I correct? I mean, that's the two situations, yeah, the patients. That's the two situations we're handling here?
Yes.
Okay, so, again, I'm just telling you what I would like to see. If they put the two in the window, they're allowed that building sign, the U of R, we're talking U of R now, and you get your Y in the back window, okay, along with the U of R in the back window. And if they just put these signs, you know, directional signs for them or whatever it is, I guess I don't have a problem with. That's not overkill.
Of what size?
Well, if they can get it down a little, but I mean, if not, I don't know.
And not
And
have
not
the
this.
dual?
Get rid of the dual sign. You don't need to direct people from the Y in the back. That's just my opinion, you know, you
square
can
footage
disagree
of these signs?
wholeheartedly, but,
We can make a motion to just allow us square footage as well. not
you know what I'm
exceed-
saying, Dan?
Yeah, I understand, and I
For the-
understand that they
Scale if we wanted.
would much rather have the branding. It's a much more attractive sign as it's depicted here than just text that says U of R Medicine,
Right.
arrow. But,
Yeah, and again, the reason, when you look at, and again, whether it's marketing or directional, the reason we chose the logo was more people respond to a logo than they do to text.
Now, you're talking for the Y or the U of R?
Either one.
Okay.
Either one. When we went down and looked at that, if someone's coming down from anyway, they can pick up a logo, or they can pick up the Y or UR Medicine much quicker than they can if you were to try and read those signs from there.
And don't get me wrong, I agree with you. My position is, you don't need to tell people there's an entrance in the back.
For the
You
Y.
technically, for the Y, you technically don't want people
No,
to go
no.
through the back. I mean, you're telling me,
No, we do.
you got a desk there, and you allow people to go through there, but inside the building, you're going, gee, the U of R patients, we don't want them in our section, am I correct?
Yeah.
I think it.
No, not necessarily. That desk that is back there is the same size desk as at the front. Will be
Okay,
it'll
but
be-
they have
it'll be
to have a little tag to get through it.
to get through it, correct.
Okay, so technically, you don't want the U of R patients, without that little tag, to go through those doors.
Correct.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
are you understanding what I'm saying or not?
Well, I guess we're not understanding that we want to make sure people know that there's not on the front, because when they talk about the parking that came all the way to the back, you can actually see that that entrance is there. So the first time, if they're parking all the way in the back, when you're looking, you can see that that's where that entrance is. If it's the first time that they're coming, instead of having to walk all the way to the front.
That's
we want
right.
to make it
you
very
keep saying
clear.
first time, second time, once they discover it, if
right.
it's easier for them to use that back entrance from where they park, they'll use it.
So going back, I think we gave those up about 10 minutes ago, so
Right.
I'm okay with that. I think, we would certainly, we think it balances to have a small Y logo and a U of R logo. We're not gonna fight you on that. Directional signs we think are important, and we think the monument sign's important, and we believe the north-facing sign is important, and hopefully that's something we can compromise on as we go through.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I'm debating in my mind now is the size of the directional signs versus, as Mike has pointed out, the need for the building mounted. And let me just say, why do you need that one on the north side? And forget about what you're entitled to. Why do you need it? When you have the monument sign and you have these directionals.
So imagine, it's not that big actually in scale to the building. It's just
Okay.
basically a very tasteful backlit.
Everything is tasteful.
Yeah, no,
There it is.
backlit sign, it says it just recognizes that that's where your medicine is. It's
Mm-hmm.
typical, you'll see it throughout all of their locations throughout town, and it just is representing that this is their building, essentially. And you can see it, you know, from the parking lot, and you also can see it, I believe, as you're coming down 250, you have the chance to see it a little bit.
No, it's not right.
Okay.
It's only 3 by 9 square feet. I mean, could we, I'm just thinking here, I mean, like, this I think is large, but if, you know, if the code allows, what, 2 square feet? And this is closer to 7, 8 square feet, you know, I mean, could we make a, you know, a condition where it's, you could have the directional signs will allow up to X number of square feet?
Sure,
whether it be
we
8
could. I
square
guess
feet,
what I would do is I would
that
rather,
we keep something.
Well,
go ahead.
can I ask a question? We're talking about, somebody said that the logos are more recognizable than the text. Well, you have text and a logo on both sides. So are you proposing then just to put the U of R's logo on there without any U of R medicine? Will that work?
Yeah, that's what my point was.
That is a
with the
logo. The whole thing's a logo.
That's the logo. Right?
That's the brand.
Wow, I mean,
Yeah.
all right, so U of R, it says U of R medicine in text, so I can see why the logo's more identifiable than the text, because you have the text anyways, plus a visual.
No, I understand your point. Do people recognize the logo without the U of R medicine? Would they understand that? You know, the shield part, it's just the shield technically, right?
The shield is also part of the University of Rochester.
Yeah, no, I
Hospital
understand.
School itself.
Believe me, we're trying to help.
Yeah, no, I know, we spent a lot of time trying to figure something out.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you make those directional signs smaller by just taking off the top where the 2 colors are, the blue and the gold or yellow, whatever you want to call it? That would take,
If we
it
shrunk
doesn't
them
take
down
off
like
a lot.
20%, would that work?
It's better
Could we
than
do
it
that?
is.
And that's kind of where I was getting, if we said not to exceed X number of square feet, I mean, if it's 2 right now, we say you can't go bigger than 8. I mean, this one here is, what's this?
Well,
Okay, this is
54
actually
by
almost,
32.
yeah, about 8
That one's
foot. 20 is about,
38.
so it'll be 1/6.
Are you talking about all 4?
I think what I'm hearing, I think we want to keep them uniform, so if we could say there's some agreed upon, I think you said, that still keeps them recognizable as they are, but a little smaller, I think you can make.
But no dual directional signs?
No, yeah.
I
that's-
still think we're saying we need, we're saying we need 4 signs.
4 signs, but none of them dual. That's what I'm asking you.
No, we were hoping the 2 could be dual, again, to differentiate the fact that there's there's an entrance back there.
But what if we said all of them were to stay under 8 square feet, or whatever, you know?
I don't care what goes on them if they're the appropriate size, I suppose.
Yeah,
So
which is,
I agree with
and
that.
just say, I would be okay with 4 shrunken
these signs.
directional signs
Okay.
and the building mounted sign.
Are you
And
talking-
that's a lot.
These shrunk?
I feel that's a lot, but I'm okay with it.
I would concur with that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, none of those.
No, again, I don't, as long as they're shrunk to an appropriate size that we can all agree, it doesn't matter to me what's on them. I still don't think that they need anything to get people in the back, because I think people will gravitate there, and once
Especially
they've
the
gone
Y.
there. So if I were you, I would put the U of R on everything, but
So what you're saying is grant them a certain size directional sign, and they can configure it any way they want, with logo, writing, do logos?
sure. Yes.
Okay. No.
Imagine your U of R logo is gonna get so small, it's gonna be worthless at a point, though. And it's much more, at least from where I'm sitting, it's much more important to identify that the U of R is back there.
Yeah, see, you guys
Not even
are
close.
almost sometimes kind of against each other, because if you were U of R coming in here, okay, it would be a whole different story. Now all of a sudden it's U of R Y, and to me, the Y's been there a long time. And I know you want the people to know they can come in the back door. But my opinion about the Y is, they will find it. Okay? The first time they walked around a building and somebody said, hey dummy, there's a door over there, I think they'd find it.
And just the last part of why we came up with the dual signage, because it is really a partnership between the Y and UR Medicine. So we're trying to get the two logos together to show that it is a true.
And you have that on your monument sign.
Right, so, right.
And you're gonna have building mounted signs, one building that has two signs. It's gonna be, I get you. And that's what we always struggle with signs. Is it marketing or is it to, help the user?
Yeah.
And there's always a combination.
Right, right.
And that's why you guys prefer the logo rather than just text. We get it.
Yeah.
Is this an appropriate sign size for all of them? This is an 8 square foot sign.
4 times.
Yeah. Well, this was much bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Closer to 20.
That's, yeah, that's,
Yeah. I guess you guys make the call.
I'm okay with 4 of that size.
that's what I was, of course.
4 of that size. Yeah,
Above
me
the
too.
directional.
I am too. Put them
Okay.
any way you want.
Yeah, so then I'll make the motion to grant the larger directional signs not to exceed 8 square feet.
A sign.
A sign, correct, thank you.
So 4, well, they're asking for 4, so 4 of those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and are you also gonna make the motion for the building mounted sign too?
Let me do all,
The U of R building mounted sign?
Deny the 2 in
and
the
I was gonna
back.
deny the 2 signs in back, correct?
And you want to okay the one
And,
in the
and we're allowing the second, well, that's what they
That's
call
their
it, you can't say no to that.
Yeah.
I should do it as 2 separate motions, I think, right?
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure if they said that they are withdrawing their application, that component, those 2 signs on the back.
What difference does it make?
Well, if they say
How
they're
about
not
you
putting
deny
2
it after
signs on the
we've
back,
already
they're
done it?
allowed to sign on the
You
north
can't
side.
withdraw it, part of it.
You
can you?
can't withdraw it after we've
No,
already.
they can't. They can withdraw the application at any point in time up until the point when the board
In
makes a
other words,
decision.
I know I answered my own question, I didn't realize what the difference is.
Because once we deny it, it's appealable.
Right.
That's my point. So if they withdraw that component of the application, they can't appeal that component of the application.
Right.
So
And that's what's
that's-
it. Well, I thought based on the conversation that they were saying they're okay with not, that was my feeling.
Yeah, and
Right.
instead put it on the decals on the doors.
Right, but like I said, at that point, when they're withdrawing those 2 signs from the board's consideration, I don't think we have to make a decision short of just accepting their.
Okay,
But are
well,
we sure that
but-
that's what they're doing?
but we, yeah, right.
Well, are you withdrawing that? I mean, let's just,
Well, my
Cut
understanding is, this is where we're going here, is that that's what you guys are comfortable with, right? We clearly disagree with you, but we're not gonna poke a bear. So those 2 signs on the back, yeah, no, the U of R is not gonna be happy about that. They're not. They're gonna be really pissed off, and we've got a lease and a lot of money at stake here. We have to go explain to them why we can't get that, but I believe that in the spirit of trying to get this application through, we can probably withdraw those 2 signs at the back if we can get, I think we got everything else with the consideration of shrinking the white signs a little bit, right? I think we can live with that.
Now we made it conditional.
Well, no, he just said he's withdrawing the ones in the
If that's
back.
withdrawn, we won't even discuss it. It's withdrawn.
So there's
Now,
no sense.
now we have is the directionals.
Well,
No,
I
no,
thought we said
directional on the
condition
one-
on a moderate
the one on the north side.
withdrawal in size.
So the north side don't have to do anything with, it's
What's
already
that?
allowed. They're
Well-
allowed one
well,
building,
if
one
we're
sign.
okay with that, we should.
No,
do
but I
it.
think Mike sort of wants to put the 2 issues
Yes.
together, the directional signs and the north-facing sign. I mean, Andres's point is that, well, if they're withdrawing the 2 signs on the back,
They
It's
can
not
put
even
one
a
up.
question.
it's
It's
not
not
one
even
They
a
can
sign
put one
up.
on the building.
But you sort of link them together so that they're somewhat married as part of a decision process.
So unless his motion is to link the 2,
Yeah.
even if you're okay with the signs, if it's unlinked, you may vote no, because you want them to be linked. Your motion is to not link. They've withdrawn
Right, and,
the back signs.
yep, and let it be, yeah,
You're making a motion to approve the shrunken directional signs.
correct.
In the north side.
So therefore, their request for 2 building mounted signs is moot.
It's moot, right.
Right.
And they can put up a 200 square foot U of R sign.
Big
if they
sign,
want.
yes.
I mean, that's a risk that we take. unless we condition it the way that Mike
So,
previously
so are
suggested.
they then withdrawing that application too, because they're gonna put it
What
up?
application?
For a variance for the north-facing sign? Since they
Well,
put it up
the only
anyways.
reason they had a variance is because they had the signs in the back.
They want multiples.
I understand that. What I'm saying is if they're saying they're withdrawing the two over the entrance on the west, okay? Shouldn't they also be withdrawing the request for, since
The
they don't
north
need
side
it?
sign.
They don't need it, a variance.
Right,
For special
what they are
We're not
withdrawing
granting
is the request for the variance for 2 building mounted signs.
Plus the north, because they can put that up anyways.
Yeah, but there's only one application for a variance for 2 building mounted signs.
I see.
Once they've
It's on
agreed to
two.
eliminate 2 building mounted signs,
Two building, you're talking about the U of R, to my mind, you're talking about 2 west, there's 2 on the west,
Yeah.
Correct.
and there's 1 on the north.
Correct.
All right, if they're withdrawing the 2 on the west,
Okay.
then they don't need a variance for the 1 on the north, right? So wouldn't they be withdrawing that request too, so we're not making a ruling on that?
except it was just the one variance request for more than 1 building mounted
Right,
sign.
that's all it is.
It's one variance, so if they're saying, we're not gonna put the signs in the back, in the west,
That's the variance.
then it makes the variance request moot, because they're entitled to put one on. Again, unless you condition allowing the directional signs.
You can make that motion without it, without looking.
Yeah, because I think then they can't appeal.
So I'll leave the motion as is, all we need is a second, I guess.
Just restate it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the directional signs, not to exceed 8 square feet each, the 4 of them.
Okay. And
Second that.
any further comment? All right, so we have a motion to approve 4 directional signs not to exceed 8 square feet each.
And we already did the front sign, or do you want to add that back into this one? or-
That was already,
That was already.
Yeah,
was
that
already-
one.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now, what is actually the request for the building? Let's make sure we get this straight. The building mounted signs, what's the request, Harold? Not the Y one, we've already granted that.
There are
The U of R
two,
one.
right, there are 2 separate U of R signs that collectively don't exceed the allowable square foot that that business would be allowed based upon their frontage on the back. So they're asking for an additional building mounted sign. So they
they
have,
withdrew that.
Well,
That's right.
so let them finish, though.
so relative to what this board would have to grant approval for, there's nothing further that the U of R would be needed to be granted unless they propose something different.
So they could either put it up or not put it up, it's their choice.
The north side.
side.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it could be
And
larger
larger.
than that they propose, as long as it fits
It
with.
could be larger than
They can put it to the back.
is shown on this.
And they can put it in
They
the
can put it in the
back.
back instead if they wanted to,
Right, and they could put this at the back also. They put it on.
or the west, I guess.
Well, for that matter, they could probably put it on any of the 4 sides of the number of sides that they chose to put it on, just as a.
Okay. All right, are there any other applications, or do we cover them all?
I think we can do
I
that.
think we covered one.
All right, so let's just revamp. The monument sign was approved. The the change in the YMCA building mounted sign was approved. 4 directional of the smaller size were approved, and the last one was rendered moot.
Was withdrawn.
Right.
Okay? Anything else? All right, no table applications,
No,
right?
no, it was clean
Okay.
slate coming in.
So you'll let us know about the
Yes.
date in October. Very good. Okay, so motion to adjourn?
So made.
All those in favor? Aye.
So we're talking 21st though, possibly, right?